In today's video, we're going to talk about one of my very favorite things, spending money. Now, I've noticed that there's been some criticism of the financial independence community at large, and sometimes fairly assigned, is that some of us can delve a little too deep into the area of frugality, creating a box of negative emotions and even palpable fear of spending money on anything. And it begs the fundamental question, what even is money if not something to be exchanged for another item which we value more than having the cash on hand? I came across this idea in an old podcast episode which I had first heard of almost 10 years ago, which outlined the differences between frugality and minimalism, as well as something of a self-reflection of the two hosts as to which they identified with the most. And with one of the hosts, in fact, creating a third category, which he found to be even more representative of how he saw it. And so, if minimalists seek to own as little as possible, and frugalists seek to pay as little as possible for what they do need, what we might call a valueist is aiming primarily to maximize the personal utility that they get from the item being purchased. And they're primarily concerned with how much value they can extract out of the product more so than the upfront cost. And so it is from that perspective that today we're going to go through some serious first world creature comforts. I'm going to take some time and break down the 5 things that I own and use every single day and could not imagine living without. From the practical to the borderline absurd, let's all take a quick peek at what normal life looks like in the dead of summer in Arizona. My name is Patrick, and this is my Fi Life. Alright, so today's video is not going to be a traditional day in the lifestyle video, but as I am going through the list, we look at things more or less chronologically as I'm going through a typical day. Now, my days tend to start pretty early and usually begins with a reflection as to how my body and mind have recovered from yesterday. And so I guess we might as well start with what might be the most obvious item. Item number 1 is this guy right here, my Oura ring. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, the Oura ring can be thought of as a minimally invasive sleep and recovery tracking device that can either be worn all day or only while asleep. The ring has sensors embedded on the inside where it directly contacts the skin, which reads data points such as heart rate variance, skin temperature, and motion sensors, which approximate and quantify the sleep cycles as they occur throughout the evening. The major competitor to the Oura ring right now is the Whoop bracelet, and you scarcely see a major high-level athlete these days without one of these devices strapped on them. And because I also wear an Apple Watch, I do prefer getting as much information out of the smaller capsule that is the Oura ring. Now, admittedly, I am objectively a data junkie, and I do enjoy sifting through this information for its own insight. But more broadly, after a year and a half of using the ring, I found it to be very helpful in identifying my sleep-wake cycle that my body naturally prefers, as well as to gradually making improvements into what they call your sleep hygiene. So basically, after a lot of trial and error, it seems that for me, the biggest adjustment that I need to try to make is to try to eat my last meal of the day quite early, as an empty stomach when going to bed has been the single best predictor of sleep quality and subsequently how early into the sleep cycle I can get my resting heart rate down to its lowest point of the night. And as I continue to take my endurance training and recovery more seriously in years to come, this is going to continue to be a really useful lagging indicator to help me understand how my body is responding to or failing to respond to the recent training stimulus that I've placed on. And speaking of waking up early, the second item in my house, which I use every single day and could not imagine my life without, would be my Spinn Coffeemaker. So the Spinn company got started as a Kickstarter campaign way back in 2017 and took another 3 years or so to finally bring the product to market. The Spinn Coffeemaker is marketed as a centrifugal, all-in-one coffee and espresso machine. It offers a variety of automated settings for both regular drip coffee and classic espresso drinks, as well as other extraction methods like cold brew and pour-over style. And all of this is internally housed into a sleek design which looks great on the kitchen counter. Would that I had a nice kitchen counter to put it on, and I swear to each and every one of you, one of these days, I will rehab my owner's unit and will then have a kitchen counter worthy of this device. If I'm being honest, I originally was in the market for an upgrade to a semi-automatic espresso presser. After a time of using an AeroPress to make single cups of coffee, I started to desire a greater level of control in the coffee making process. I thought that a capable espresso machine might help me learn how to make a reliably good tasting cup of coffee at home. And the convenience and consistency of a fully automatic setup seemed a little bit excessive, but due to a pretty solid Black Friday sale, which made the Spinn an even cheaper option than what I had originally been looking for, I took the leap and so far have been thrilled with the results. There are a few noteworthy annoyances with the setup, from a very small water tank that requires seemingly constant refilling, as well as the super proprietary device in general requires that you have to go through the Spinn company for new water filters and cleaning solutions for the internal parts, but my Spinn coffee maker has proved very versatile. In my recent experiment to start drinking coffee as the Italians do, namely the ability to pull a double shot of espresso for a quick caffeine hit on our way out the door for the morning dog walk, is every bit as easy and every bit as delicious as a more traditional American drip coffee that I can drink on those mornings when I have a little bit more time to sit and enjoy. And as a home composter, I'm a really big fan of the simple residue bin, which holds the dried spent coffee grounds after the cup has been made for easy composting with no added paper filters. All in all, it's a pretty cool setup, and half the time, I don't know that I would be able to get out of bed in the first place without something like my first cup of light roasted espresso to look forward to. And so once I am awake and fully caffeinated, it's now time to depart for the workday. So we can now shift to a far more simple, but no less vital to surviving a Tucson, Arizona summer season. My third item that I use every day is none other than my trusty Nalgene bottle. Tucson's climate is as fascinating and unique as it is completely unrelenting in the summer. Situated on the northeastern tip of North America's most lush and biologically diverse desert, southern Arizona experiences more hours of sunlight during the year than just about any other place on Earth, and is on par and frequently surpasses that of North Africa, the historical motherland to the world's first Homo sapiens. And because humans have evolved over centuries to regulate internal temperature via the use of sweat glands, I find it very interesting to note that human beings very literally have evolved to deal with this precise environment, namely a hot and arid climate with free access to water and to salt. And with temperatures reaching 100 degrees or higher for roughly half of the calendar year, much of the workday must be performed outside between 10 a.m. and sunset. In my first few years as a full-time real estate agent, I learned quickly that it is unwise to ever leave the house without at least 1 full liter of ice water on hand. And so I've come to taking 2 or 3 Nalgene bottles on hand, as I'm constantly losing them, to get me through the summertime. And my habit is basically just to grab a cold bottle out of the fridge in the morning and simply toss the hot but refilled bottles back into the fridge or the freezer at the end of the day. There is a popularly held local legend which holds that Arizona law requires any restaurant or business which sells food to offer free ice water to anyone who comes in and requests it. I really like the idea of this law and was in fact quite disappointed that while researching this video, I found that no actual law to point to. It's nonetheless pretty standard practice for residents to stop into any gas station or restaurant serving food throughout the summertime to top up their bottles with more cold water. Now, living in the Sonoran Desert means continually losing moisture as you go about your day. As much as 30 to 40 ounces of water per hour all day, every day between roughly May and October. So drinking water to stave off the negative effects of dehydration and heat stress is even more critical in an Arizona summer than it is in humid environments like Texas and the Southeast. So by all means, make sure you refill that bottle as often as you need to get you through the day. Now, item number 4 on our list not only helps me stay productive as I'm constantly shooting across all areas of the city, but it has easily become my favorite recent purchase in the work category. What I think every realtor should own is a mobile hotspot. As a real estate agent who primarily works with buyers, I very rarely have Wi-Fi when I need it, namely while visiting random homes with my buyer clients or in far-flung locations across the city doing various research projects. Now, the idea of buying a work iPad with its own cellular connection was an enticing prospect to me for a little while, but ultimately, I didn't like the idea of having to limit myself to the computing power of just a handheld iPad. So now, while my trusty TomTalk computer bag does a pretty efficient job of holding not only my work iPad for quick internet access, but also my full work laptop when I need the extra computing capability, but it's this sucker right here that allows the whole system to operate. So if you are a real estate agent or work with any kind of on-the-go sales-based business, I really don't know how to say it. Grab yourself a mobile hotspot and you can take your entire business with you everywhere you go. No more one-way trips back to the office just to record notes or look something up with this guy on board. It's been a total game changer, and in today's fast-moving economy, I would not want to imagine business without it. Item number 5 on our list is typically among the last items that I use every single day, is also as well as one of the first. My favorite convenience-oriented item that I love way more than I thought that I would, and weirdly enough is the only item on this list that I actually spent my own money to buy for myself, is my Yomiuri electronic smart lock. Now, this was a bit more of an impulse purchase I decided to make for myself after buying one for my Airbnb rental property next door. The always-on feature of the lock eliminates forever the worry that you might have left the house without locking the front door, as well as the need to have a house key on your person to lock and unlock the door. The Yomiuri smart lock handle has 4 ways to access the lock: via a numerical code that you input on a touchpad, via a permanent tag that comes with the device that you can use to add to a standard keyring, as well as via a master override ability within the TTL lock app on my iPhone. However, by far my favorite method of using this lock is through the thumb scanner. All you would need to do as the owner of the lock is to scan your various fingerprints like you would on any smartphone, and you can unlock the door simply by scanning your finger each time. This has been a total game changer for me, as I can now leave the house to go for bike rides or long runs without carrying keys. And I know I will always be able to get back inside after the workout, and there's now zero chance that I might drop my keys accidentally in the middle of Oura Valley and Picture Rock somewhere. It's also super easy to quickly run back into the house to grab my sunglasses or water bottle or any other damn thing that I might have remembered last moment that I had forgotten. So after a year of using it, I gotta say, frankly, deadbolts are for suckers. The future is here, and it is all digital. So that's it. Those are the 5 items that I use every single day and would hate to imagine living life without. Let me know what you think about my list in the comment section, and I'm super curious to know what you would put in your top 5 value picks. I'll try to work more of this low-key stuff in, along with our more serious updates on real estate and anything else that I might have going on at the time. So we'll see you back in the next video. Thanks for hanging out.